Incoming mail.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's market color session. My name is Sabi and I'll be taking the first half of this analysis, which will be covering commodity currencies. By that, I mean NZD USD, AUD USD, and USD. Shortly after which, my colleague is going to come on board and do his analysis on indices as well. I see a couple of words online. Good morning, good morning. Isaac, Solomon, Theresa, Farina, Osas, the rest of us, good morning, everyone. YouTube community, welcome. Okay, so let us now look at what the market has in store for us today. We're going to be starting with AUD on the H4 time frame. AUD on the H4 time frame. So, all right, so let us look at what the market has in store for us today. From our last analysis, which happened on Tuesday, remember I stated that the levels we are drawn out, if we saw price breaking below all of those levels, then we're seeing AUD selling all the way into our trend indicator on the H4 time frame, which is looking like what is exactly happening here now. As for USD CAD as well, quick recap too, you'd also remember that we marked out points expecting price to eventually, buy back into. We drew out zones saying if these levels get violated to the upside in case of USD CAD, then we might be seeing a continuous buy of this asset class. But let's start from AUD and delete what has happened so far, focusing on what is going to happen, because that's where we're going to see money to make, right? So delete all selected. This is now from the H4 time frame. Predominant move of AUD. Sorry about that, but criminal move of AUD has been to the upside, except for now that we now have a sunshine printed, basically indicating that profit taking has occurred, right? Profit taking has now occurred on this particular asset class. Because of that, we're expecting retracement to happen. And when these retracements happen, we can now see a final drawdown of AUD to the downside. But where is it going to buy back into? We go on H1 to mark out those levels. The first point of interest is now here. That's 0.65096. Now, bear in mind, please, that the zones we mark out on H1 are not specific price points. They are levels, they are zones that price could tap into anywhere around. I'm only using the price points because I know not all of us have the indicators. So you can have an idea of where to look out for on price action, right? For those of us that don't have indicators, of course, this is for our Forex bootcamps. So this is now a point of interest I'm looking out for. Second point of interest is now here. Inside my momentum indicator, which happens to be in confluence with our pullback indicator, that's the orange and the green. So I'm saying price will eventually buy back into the zone, and then we might see a continuation, a self-continuation of this particular asset class, right? I'm going to go ahead now and mark out even more POIs on M5. And what are those points of interest that we always mark out? What are those points of interest always mark out? Yesterday's high and low, day before yesterday's high and low. Draw them into today's market movement. Draw them into today's market movement. And you can see that this would have been our first point of interest and price has already reacted off it. So this was a previous support that is now acting as a current resistance. Particular price point to what price has done so far. This is over 30 pips. For an asset class like AU, that's a fair enough move, right? But we'll go ahead and mark out the 4 points of interest that we like to look out for on a daily. So day before yesterday's low has been marked out, yesterday's high has to be marked out. Then I'll mark out day before yesterday's high and day before yesterday's low, which is right here. Mark all of that into today's price movement. The first level has been tapped. We've seen the sell occur. This was even this level I'm looking out for now on M5, of course, but also H1 happens to have about 2 or 3 confluences. A previous support that could act as resistance, the 1 hour point of interest, and the 5 minutes point of interest as well, all in one zone. So it is likely that since price has now done this sell move, this move great for you because this was a beautiful sell move, especially for this session. Give us this day our daily bread. If you call this move, we've caught a fair enough price movement. If not, we want to wait for price to retrace because remember, we don't want to be caught selling low at any point in time. You want to sell high, buy low, right? So we're expecting price to eventually retrace into this and then maybe inside the trend, which is right here. When it comes back here, provided it meets or gives us our confirmation or confirmation criteria, then we're going to be looking for a continuous sell of this, right? But if price comes back in here and does not give us a confirmation, but instead breaks above, then what are we looking at? We'll now be saying, okay, likely that the buy is going to continue. You'll see the price, the levels I marked out on M5. These are the levels. So if price eventually buys back but happens to violate all of these zones, then it is safe to say that we've seen a buy resumption on this asset class. But look at how precise this retracement was. So if price happens to not return into those zones, we'll check on 15 minutes. So for those of us who use market structure, price action, you check on 15 minutes, use your Fibonacci retracement tool, and if it confluences with a liquidity level, by that time in fair value gaps, right, IOFEDs, like this zone now, also is still in confluence with what we marked out on M5, saying we want to see price retracing to. So these are how you're able to catch moves that have already left your input, provided it does not return back into what could have served as a preferred level. You check 15 minutes and check out liquidity zones to continue the downward movement to the downside. Okay, that's it for ends for AUD. Let's just look at NU. NZD is also to the downside. Predominantly, the major structure has been to the upside, but now that we're seeing consecutive break of structures, we had a change of character, we had a confirmatory break of structure around here. Then we now have sunshine printed. What does sunshine mean? Profit taking of those who were selling these markets has occurred. So because this has happened, we're expecting temporal retracement or eventual reversals, right? So sunshine has been printed. I'm expecting NZUSD to retrace. Retrace into what zone? Let's go on the H1. I'm going to go ahead and mark out the momentum indicator, the green in color, mark out the pullback and the trend indicators here. So I'm waiting for price to retrace into these zones so that I can do what? I can begin to look for sell continuation opportunities. This is the H1 time frame. It may take a while, it may not. Let us look at M5 to mark out levels of the day. What are those levels? Yesterday's high and low, day before yesterday's high and low. So yesterday's high is pretty close to our H1 POI, but remember I said the H1 point of interest and not specific price point, they are zones. So it is safe to say that there's double confluence of this particular point of interest right here. So price is now currently testing a support level, which is where price currently is. I want to see NZUSD buy back into the next resistance point and then give me a confirmatory pattern to continue to sell in sync with what H4 is currently giving us. So this is POI 1 and 2. I'll go ahead and mark out point of interest 3 and 4. Only pay attention to the price points that I draw into today. These are past data, so I'm going to go ahead and drag this. This is now yesterday's high, day before yesterday's low, right here. Draw it all the way into today's price movement. And then finally, what are we marking out next? Day before yesterday's high, which happens to be here. Day before yesterday's high. If you're wondering how to easily get different days divided into groups, just simply click on Ctrl+Y on your MT4 platform and to bring out this period separator, which presents 1 day, right? So these are now levels I'm looking out for. Two things would happen, as always, in the Forex market. It's either it buys or it sells. We know that, but now we're saying that when you buy back into this zone, come here. If you give me confirmation, I'll be willing to sell. If not, and you violate this zone, there is the next resistance waiting for you. Go there, give me confirmation, I sell. But if price does not give me confirmations, at these different points of interest, what am I doing? I'll check other asset class, right? We have a couple of asset classes you can look out for. When certain asset classes are not delivering. But again, remember, even though trading is also trading, you don't always have to be active in the market. So for USD CAD now, which is the third asset class I'm looking at before we move into indices, you can see that predominantly structure has been to the downside. When you zoom in, you see we had a change of character, which happened around here, and a confirmatory break of structure. This was the first change of character, a confirmatory break of structure, right? That happened around this zone. So what do I want to see? I want to see a retracement so that I can get a good enough zone for me to continue to buy. If what we're seeing happening right now, most recent price action is going to hold, that is this movement, right? So how do I mark out what could serve as a point of interest? We go on H1. One of our points of interest have already been marked, 1.36533. Then I'll go ahead and mark out our second point of interest. It is a zone, please remember. I'm now saying that I want to see price do this. We trace into this zone, right? Preferably, if you even zoom in and you want to use market structure, if you see another block around that level, it should even give you extra confidence for you to take that particular buy mode, right? So yes, I'm expecting retracements to happen on USD CAD. Let us go on M5 to mark out what we did on AU and NU. Trading is very repetitive. We're just doing the same thing over and over and over again on different asset classes. It does not differ based on the asset class you're looking at. So yesterday's high marked out. You can see price is already fast approaching yesterday's high. So we may see movement to the downside, right? It's a resistance. Then we now have yesterday's low, which could serve as what? A support. And then we mark out the day before yesterday's high, which is right here. And then day before yesterday's low here. So what exactly am I waiting for? We should know this already. Expecting price to retrace. There is a previous resistance that could act as current support right here. If you come here and this holds, then we may see another move upward that would eventually break through the zone. But if this resistance keeps bouncing price back, there are different support levels we're looking out for. So again, remember, always take notes of the prices close to the areas that we mark out, so you can add that to your analysis and make do of this information that I just shared. So that is pretty much it for 3 asset classes that I'm looking at this morning. If you have any questions, this is the perfect time to let me know and I'll answer them before we move into the next session. If you don't, simply put an emoji in the chat box so that I know that this message was passed across effectively to at least one person. Let me know before we proceed.
I have a question, please.
All right, so it's kind of noisy here. Kindly type in the chat box, please. Kindly type in the chat box. Thank you. While he's typing, please, anyone else has a question, also type in the chat box. Can wait for 1 minute to have those questions written down. For the rest of us who don't have these questions, was this helpful? Please let me know. Hi, Win, good morning. Okay, so you're still typing, right? Keeps don't lie. Good morning. All right, thank you, Mira. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Thank you for your feedback. Okay, sorry, are you still typing? You could just say yes so that I know if you're still typing. Are you still typing? Okay, to not take too much more time, while he's typing, we're going to move into the second half of today's analysis session, and then I'm going to come back and answer the question that he has. So please do well to type everything in the comment section, and if I see it, I'll come back to answer. All right, thank you for, okay, currently on USD CAD buy. Perfect, that means you're in profit. So this question is quite tricky, and I don't like to answer questions like this sometimes. Because I know the major reason why you're asking is probably psychology getting in the way. Before you entered that trade, I'm sure you had a reason why you set your take profits at a certain level, right? Am I right? Perfect. So stick to your analysis and hold it to the end. One of two things will happen: either you learn or you earn. But yes, I do still think USD CAD is still going to buy a bit forward because of where price currently is. We might just see a slight retracement into the next resistance turn current support. And if this zone does not hold, it's going to violate and sell all the way into these in the pullback indicator or our trend. It's going to sell in here and then give us a final lap into the next resistance zone, which is somewhere around 1.37530. So this is where I see the major resistance holding. If price is eventually able to break through this zone, then we may just see continuous moves to the upside. But we're going to see a temporal retracement down here. You're welcome. Okay, let me not take too much more time. It's almost 9 a.m. already. Let us move into the next half of this session, looking at indices. Remember, if you have questions that you're not done typing, please leave them in the chat box. And when my colleague is done, I'll come back and answer them. All right. With that being said, do have an amazing trading day. Cheers. God bless. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly.
Good morning, and welcome back to the second part of this market color, where we look at the indices markets this morning. How are we doing? Hope we're good, hope we're fine. As our trading week's going so fast, so good. All right, let me share my screen so that we can start session already. Okay. Okay. I believe you can see my screen now, right? Been an interesting time for US 30, especially with all drama that happened yesterday. The market is quite in a very static manner. Let me use that. Right. We had all of the old drama around Powell being fired, right? And we saw that triggering a lot of stop loss yesterday, right? We saw pushing price. Some pair really rallied, like the likes of Euro USD and the entire Euro dominated assets. Why other ones like US 30, US 100 actually sold off, which is quite interesting. Now, as we speak, the market is still trying to, decide where to go because that's huge, right? The announcement was not announcement, like a rumor, kind of was really of high impact, right? Because I mean, the Powell is the president or chairman, let's say, Federal Reserve. So, what am I looking for this morning? For the remaining of this week, today is Thursday, tomorrow is Friday. I'm not trading this market. I won't be trading the market. Why? I want to get certainty and clarity on what it is it's happening, right? Fundamentally, are we going ahead to sack the Powell? If that's true, let us see the announcement from White House or from Trump himself, right? And then that will now either send price to the upside or downside, and we can now eventually follow through with whatever the position institution are choosing to take, rather than being in the middle and then you're caught up in all of the old drama, right? I think on Tuesday we had some markups, but then they didn't eventually play out the way I wanted it to play out. Especially on, I think US 100. I'm trying to look for Tuesday. Okay. On Tuesday, price was still around this zone. Let me use 1 hour Tuesday shenanigan. Trying to check properly. Okay, that was on US. I think that was on US 100. But then let's just do analysis on US 30, instead with US 30, and then eventually we'll move to the remaining asset class. All right, on US 100, US 30, we are technically still bullish, right? Fundamental now is tilting towards being neutral. But then on US 30, we are, in fact, across all the US equity, fundamental is tilting to being neutral. Formerly, we were extremely bullish, right? We're bullish, but now with the whole announcement that is coming, we don't know what exactly investors or big institutions are tilting towards. So for that reason, we just want to stay neutral for now until the news release about Powell comes through. And usually, if we want to follow like patterns with President Trump, it usually starts with a rumor before the actual thing, right? With the Iraq and Iraq bombing, or the Iran bombing, that was what happened too. He said he might not bomb Iran, and the next day we saw that thing happen, or 2 days after, we saw him do the exact thing he said he might and he might not do, right? So this rumor is looking a bit true, looking a bit dicey. Will it do it? Will it not do it? We don't want to guess. Let us just wait for him to actually go straight to the point. He has formally said he's not going to fire Fed, but then another thing is coming up, right? And he's sending the market sideways in a way. All right, so on the daily time frame, we are still bullish for technicals, right? Technically speaking, we're still bullish. And let's look at this. Let me use my fib. So mark this. Okay. Price still has a long way to go if we want to start using Fibonacci for coordinates this morning. There's still below 50% for it to start pushing to the upside again, but I don't really think price is going to come all the way down to that zone, right? But extremely bullish on the daily time frame, that's established. On the 4-hour time frame, let's look at what we are having. On the 4-hour time frame, it's looking as though let's not trade what we perceive, but what we are seeing. Structure is beginning to change on 4-hour time frame, right? Structure is beginning to change very well, because you are seeing multiple break of structure to the downside. You're seeing multiple breaks. Right? Multiple breaks of structure So that is saying what? We might as well begin to reconsider our buy position or buy bias you're having, right? Might as well begin to consider our buy bias, because if price continues to create lows, there's no point looking for buy in this market. Either you change your bias, start selling, looking for sales, or you wait until structure corrects again, right? And then we start seeing higher highs to the upside. Then we can start looking for buys. But as it is now, especially with the uncertainty as regards what will happen to Fed Powell, we might keep on seeing this sell happen, right? And that in a way is against or not in sync with what we had previously. All right, on the 4-hour time frame, we are seeing that price has been creating multiple low. On the 1-hour time frame, what do we expect? Also, price still creating multiple low, and then we have a sort of box pattern around these zones, right? Like a box pattern on the higher time frame for a sell, meaning say price comes around anywhere around this zone. I want to start looking for sales, right? I want to start looking for sales around this zone, or even I'm seeing a fair value gap just below. You have another fair value gap, yeah. Let me adjust it. It's a tiny fair value gap that's not been tested before. Yeah, around this zone. So I want to see how price is going to react from all of this, right, to the downside, because with what is happening now, that is the most probable setup that I'm seeing, especially on higher time frame, right? So this is what I have for US 30. But like I mentioned, most likely I'll just be watching this market, not to actively trade it until I have a clear cut. The whole noise died down about Fed Powell, or we have a clear cut, decision from White House announcement, something like that. US 100 is extremely bullish. Still bullish technical, right? Technical analysis, we are bullish. And fundamental also is still tweeting in a way, but then US 100 is extremely bullish on the daily time frame. We can see for retracements, don't know if we would get that retracement. I'm not sure. Everything is still pointing to the market being extremely bullish. Everything, except for the whole drama that happened yesterday. On the 4-hour time frame, what do we have? In fact, we've not seen any break of structure yet to the downside, right? The market is still extremely bullish. And wow, interesting to see. The market is still extremely bullish on the 1-hour time frame. What do we have on the 1-hour time frame? We've seen the market break structure to the upside with this. Last week, we marked out this zone. I'm going to buy from here. Eventually, price actually took us out, right? It took it, a L, yeah. An L, yeah. Yes, so what is for today? What am I looking for today? Because of the whole indecision, I will as well just want to pause. Let me put on 2-hour time from them, something I'm looking out for. I as well want to pause. But now, this is looking as though the market is going to start buying from this zone. Now it's a bit conflicting. We are seeing sell on US 30, we are seeing buy on US 100. What should you take? This is one of the reasons why I'm a bit, reserved about taking actual position in the market today or engaging this market at all. If for any reason I see the market still delay 30 minutes to the New York market open around this zone, most likely then price will just tap into this other block and then continue its movement to the upside, right? That's my concern. While I'm having this on US 100, we can't be having sales on US 30, right? So it makes it really dicey. And then there's no sell box pattern for US 100 because unlike US 30 that's been breaking structure to the downside, we can't see any break of structure here to the downside. All we see, in fact, is break of structure to the upside, right? Which is in alignment with our higher time frame, technical bias, which is for a buy, right? But then this is what is happening. And days like this, you just want to, at best, not be carried away. Okay. Please don't lie. He said, I just sold on US 30. Like now. Interesting. Interesting. Right? Oh, it's still correct. Meaning, say for example, for any reason, price continues to price is going to react to our analysis, then that sell has to happen. Probably you might want to now close before New York market open, because that one, it can send price either ways, either to the upside or to the downside. But then let's look at it on 45 minutes, on 30 minutes, on 15 minutes for box pattern. Okay, trying to see the box pattern here. Extremely hard, but then okay. This fair value gap, and then break to the downside, fair value gap, and also this zone here to start selling off into this. This works too, but I mean, it works too if you want to start selling off from this zone and then a break here, this fair value gap to start selling. Oof, this can work. This can work. This can work. I want to sell back into a sharp low. All right. All right. That can really, really work. However, for me this morning, I'm not taking any trade on US 100, honestly speaking. I don't want to be caught into any web of uncertainty. It's a thing with Trump. You say something today, tomorrow comes and say another thing. And in a way, it can mess with what I have going on, right? Yesterday, I was supposed to close a trade 1:4. Because of that news, the trade reversed, came back to my break even, and eventually closed the trade 1:1. And finally, because of the news or the old Trump drama, right? By the time everything was beginning to settle down, the trade went as high as 1:6, 1:7 when I checked this morning, right? So sometimes the old drama, if you are caught in it, can in a way affect psychology, and I don't want all of that. Probably that's why I'm a bit reserved about taking any position today. But for me, right, what will I want to do today? I wait for price to come to this zone, right? If eventually we see these sales continue to happen before 2:30, usually New York markets open around that 2:30, 3 o'clock-ish, right? And then I see price here. Probably I want to put a buy, especially if I now see a box pattern on the 1 hour time frame, right? To further solidify this position or to even to destabilize the entire position, we'll now look at S&P 500, right? Because usually they go in tandem, right? They move in one direction. S&P 500 is now the author of confusion because now it's in a proper range, right? Look at this. Kind of in a way broke, took out liquidity here, right? Took out this former liquidity, and then we have this also, right? Took out liquidity here, took out liquidity below. On US 100, we still have this protected. On US 30, we have on US 30, we have a proper break of structure to the downside. Today is the real day, right? So for me today, I'm not taking any trade. This further confirms my bias. Right? Anything can happen here. It can either buy, it can either sell. Like, I don't want to be in this. Today is a very interesting day. They are not correlating at all. So it can either buy today or it can either sell, and sell heavily or buy heavily, right? Because everything is just against what we usually have in terms of correlation, all of them moving in sync. But today is quite interesting. It's quite interesting, really. For S&P 500, right? What will I see? This looks like a practical box pattern, right? A sweep to the upside, break to the downside, and then price, coming to this region and to continue the sell-off to the downside, right? because we're seeing like a sweep of this here, seeing a sweep here, and then price might eventually want to, sell off from this zone, because now we've seen a proper sweep of this structure to the downside, although with a weak, but it doesn't matter. A break of structure is a break of structure, right, to the downside. So I'll be looking at this morning. 30-minute time frame. What will I be looking at for? We have a fair value gap around this zone, but we price on to get to that zone before eventually start selling off. That I don't know. I'll be watching out for this market until 2:30. What we have on US 30 is for a sell. US 100 is giving kind of a buy setup as we speak, right? Which we are watching closely. And then S&P 500 now is invariably giving also a sell kind of setup. But for today, honestly speaking, if I'm being honest with us, I'm not taking any trade across any of them. Today is just to watch. What will happen. Either buy, either sell, fine and good. Because fundamental is not giving me what I want, right? The news are saying the market is really static, or it's been, it's kind of in a standstill, waiting for what will happen. Because that announcement is really quite significant. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining this morning. And this is what we have. There's no clear intraday kind of play here for now today. We just want to stay on our ends. Of course, if you have running positions already, you can do well to hold on to your position. Because, I mean, you did your analysis before you enter the trade. So there's no point to panic about whether or not you're right or wrong, right? All right, it's a good place to ask a question. If you have any question this morning, about 10 on this Zoom call. David, I'm yours. Good. Thank you so much. It's been consistent. Mira, pigs don't lie. Of course. Thank you for joining. Solomon, Teresa, user. Do we have any question this morning, especially as regards US 30, 100, and S&P 500? Do you have any question? Do we have any question? All right. The absence of no question. Thank you. I will drop my analysis on the group. Beautiful. Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We'll meet again by 2 p.m. this afternoon, right? 2 p.m. to just look at what might has happened, and probably we'll just adjust our bias, which we always do, right? Adjust our bias, and then if there's nothing that's really happened significantly, we'll just continue with what we have. All right. Thank you so much for joining this morning. I wish you a profitable trading day ahead. Till next time, cheers and God bless, guys.